this is me, Darkel, and welcome to a new episode of Death Blow Podcast. Season 5 is out now, and subscribe, like and share, and click on the bell to receive more news about my channel, Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen to the audio version, and Instagram, Facebook and TikTok to be updated with more videos and news. Today I want to talk about an incredible guitarist that revolutionized the extreme metal with his sound, and I'm talking about Ace Frehley, died recently. The Spaceman. He decided to call himself Ace for his ability with the women, and the Spaceman or Space Ace accompanied by silver makeup around his eyes to symbolize his affinity with science fiction. Maybe due to the makeup, maybe due to the excellent albums they composed back in the 70s, it was something new in the music to see. It was one of the first bands to use the makeup, and Kiss made this thing their workhorse. Ace Frehley, real name Paul Daniel Frehley, born in New York on 27 April 1951. Ace grew up in the Bronx and had two older brothers. His father was a native of Pennsylvania and a Dutch immigrant, while his mother was from North Carolina. He had a difficult childhood. He frequented street gangs, and his parents, finding a way to distance him from that unhealthy environment, decided to give him a guitar for his 13th birthday. When he was 20, he abandoned gangs and started playing for real. After getting his diploma, he tried to find jobs that would allow him to buy better equipment. In the meantime, he participates in minor bands such as Magic People and the Muff Divers. It was 1972 and Ace was looking for a band, found an advert for a group looking for a guitarist, and showed up at the auditions. What he didn't know yet is that this band would be the one which will reach the pinnacle of success all over the world. It's the beginning of Kiss' career. I have to say that their first album isn't bad at all. My favorite song is Strutter. They were the first band to include pyrotechnic effects at each of their concerts, an originality for those times, reused by other bands such as Venom. Ace Frehley was the first to include a smoke bomb instead of pickups in his Gibson Les Paul. Why did I decide to talk about Ace? Because Kiss have influenced many black metal bands and beyond. Quorton of Bathory, for example, has always found a magnificent source of inspiration in Frehley. Furthermore, the cover Deuce that Quorton released on the album Octagon suggests that he was a big fan of their sound, and also the cover of Black Diamond, published in Memory of Quorton Volume 3, a posthumous album released only after Quorton's death, where he demonstrated his skill and admiration for them, not to mention when he was a child and he dressed and used makeup with his brothers, all dressed exactly like Kiss, and they organized a mini concert for their parents. But Quorton wasn't the only one. Mantas, of now ex-Venom, has also always been a big fan, and many of his songs were inspired by Kiss. In many of his interviews, he even pointed out a memory in which he was in the department store with his mother and saw the Kiss album Alive on the shelves. He was impressed by the cover, but couldn't buy it, so he only bought an old copy of Hotter Than Hell, and since then his life changed forever. Kiss has always inspired many bands, like another overseas artist influenced by Kiss, Fever, and this guy was Chuck Schuldiner. With his band Death, he did a cover God of Thunder from the Kiss album Destroyer. In fact, Chuck attended their concert when he was younger and was surprised. There are too many artists to mention influenced by them, but there's no time. What I can say is that Kiss have certainly given voice to new generations who are angrier than the old one. Gene Simmons himself admitted in an interview that he listened to death metal, but without specifying which bands and which albums. Coming back to Ace, he remained in Kiss until 1982, due to musical differences with the other musicians. In 1987, the first album with his new band, Frehley's Comets, with Anton Fig, Todd Howard and John Regan. This band, unfortunately, disbanded the following year to pursue his solo career using his name Ace Frehley. 2 years later, his first solo album, entitled Trouble Walking. It was not his first solo album because 9 years before, on September 18, 1978, Ace composed a solo album entitled Ace Frehley, and is one of 4 solo albums released by each member of Kiss. Everything came to a head last September 25, 2025, when Ace fell from his studio and was forced to cancel his tour dates. Last October 16, unfortunately, he died due to a brain hemorrhage caused by the fall, and that the family had made the decision to disconnect the life support that kept him alive. After the machine was shut down, Ace was pronounced dead a few hours later in Morristown, New Jersey, where he was living. The fire and flames of Kiss Hell go out and become ash, the ash that will be carried away by the wind of rock and roll. A difficult 2025 for rock, which saw 2 legends, Ozzy Osbourne and Ace Frehley, disappear within 3 months. The beginning of this year also saw the death of a member of Heavy Load, Ragnar, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, John Sykes, to name a few, and for extreme metal, Fredrik Lindgren from Unleashed and Thomas Lindberg from At the Gates. A 2025 that we will not forget due to the death of these legends. A question arises spontaneously. Who knows what these great music artists would have done if they were still here? What ideas, what new songs would they write, and what would they talk about? At the moment, these questions cannot be answered. But I am certain of one thing: the passion for rock and metal would never have died. I offer my deepest condolences to Ace family and Kiss, a band that has written the history of music since the 70s. And that's all for this episode of Death Blow Podcast. Subscribe, like and share, and click on the bell to receive more news about my channel, Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen to the audio version, and Instagram, Facebook and TikTok to be updated with more videos and news. See you soon, guys!